All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Crystal Ball Fantasy Sports. Today, we are going to be doing another mock draft, and this one is an episode that I think is going to be really important for people to watch. One of the main problems that people run into when they're drafting is trying to figure out how to differentiate themselves when you're picking later on in the draft. We've all had that experience of, we're an hour away from the draft and the draft opens. At least that's how it is on ESPN. And you open it up and you're drafting eighth. And you're like, well, I'm not getting Christian McCaffrey. I'm not getting Dalvin Cook. And it can be hard to figure out what to do. And so you have to make choices that are going to differentiate yourself from, the people that do end up having those top draft picks, because you're getting worse running backs than they are. And if you just keep on drafting the players that are kind of falling to you at that position, you're just inevitably going to have worse players because they're lower. That second pick, you can have a better second running back, but the high end, they'll always be better. They'll have better running backs, they'll have better wide receivers. So we're going to be drafting from the 8th spot on Sleeper, and we're going to try and, keep that in mind. The how do we separate ourselves from the other teams when we're later on in the draft? So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we will pull up Sleeper. We'll go ahead and get this started. I've got the ultimate draft kit rankings from the FF Ballers also pulled up. So if we need to, we'll take a look. I'm gonna put myself up in this screen. Sometimes what I'm seeing is different than what you're seeing. So I think that this should be a good spot for me to be in. So as you can see, we're in the 8th spot. We're doing a 10-team league, half PPR. And so the strategies change depending on whatever league you're in. But we're going to do half PPR, pretty normal roster settings: 2 running backs, 1 quarterback, 2 wide receivers, tight end, 2 flexes, kicker, defense, and 5 bench spots. So let's go ahead and start the draft. And I'm thinking that I'm probably going to want to draft Travis Kelce unless some kind of anomalous running back falls to me. And as you can see, the best running back is Nick Chubb, and I'm not crazy about him because this is a half PPR league and he doesn't catch a lot of passes. In a standard league, I would think about it. I probably am not going to be going a modified 0 RB and starting wide receiver, tight end, which is a possibility. We might have to do that depending on what running backs are taken. But what I'm hoping is, you can see there's, 4 draft picks in between this pick and our next. So just looking at the running backs that are available, I would be happy with Chubb, Taylor, Eckler, and Harris, and possibly Gibson. I'm fully out on Joe Mixon. I won't draft him at all this year, no matter what. So that's not an option for me. But there's 4 running backs and maybe 5 that I'm comfortable with. So you're taking a risk at passing up on them, but I want to get Kelce, and that's going to be the way that we're going to try and differentiate ourselves. So I'm taking Kelce, and we had 2 wide receivers and 2 running backs be taken: Jonathan Taylor, Austin Eckler, Stephon Diggs, and Tyreek Hill. So that worked out pretty well for us. And just to elaborate on why, Kelce is a player that you can differentiate with, is because he offers a weekly positional advantage that your opponent's not going to have. So maybe they have a better running back, but you're going to have the better tight end. You're going to have the best tight end in football, and it's going to be, massively beneficial for you. So let's go back real quick, look at the running backs, look at the wide receivers. this might be one where we can take a look at the rankings. Devontae Adams is available, and that's an interesting stack. I've actually had luck with that stack in the past doing Kelsey and Adams. But I think that given who the running backs are, I probably will still be looking running back. Let's take a look at the rankings real quick. Yeah, Chubb is ranked 7th, and I don't go purely by the rankings, but for me, this pick is between Chubb and Adams, but I think the pick for the purpose of this draft, because I've already done a 0 RB draft, I'm going to go Chubb. It's close with Harris for me there too. I made a video about Harris being one of my guys, and it's real close. So, you know, that's more for like middle of the second round. But I didn't want to pass up Chubb just because I'm not super confident in the running backs that would fall to me. And I think that was the right choice because it's the likes of Chris Carson, who I like, but I don't want him as my number one. DeAndre Swift, who's injured. So I think that was the right choice. And now we can continue to try and differentiate because we got a good wide receiver that fell to us. We got a few, but we got Justin Jefferson that came down. And I really like that pick. That's probably going to be who I'm going to take. But kind of the feeling that I have about a lot of these running backs is they're more floor plays. You know, Carson, I really think he's super talented, but it just seems like he gets injured a lot. And that's not something that I always take in mind, but he's somebody that I know a lot of industry people are in on this year, but I'm a little less bullish on him. If we do go tight end, running back, wide receiver, and we get this, I consider Justin Jefferson to be a high end wide receiver. He was wide receiver 1 last year. Then that's going to give us leniency for possibly taking another wide receiver in the 4th round and then hoping to get maybe Gus Edwards or James Robinson in the 5th. But there's going to be some flexibility there for us. So let's take Justin Jefferson. And like I said, I mean, Justin Jefferson, he was I think the best rookie wide receiver ever last year. And I don't think it was very fluky. So I'm really happy getting him on the team. And Swift and Jacobs they're 2 guys I was not super intent on drafting, and I'm fine with that. I think that there's a strong likelihood we're going to be able to get a good running back 2 in the 5th round. And that would be James Robinson, hopefully, but also Gus Edwards, Damian Harris. Maybe that's a little bit riskier in a half PPR league. But to me, there's some really great wide receivers here. And that's something that I've been learning a little bit more is, you know, you're kind of better off, I think, taking the guaranteed high end wide receivers than the shot at kind of like a lower end running back 2, or like I guess more like a middle of the range running back 2, which is what I consider Carson to be. So I'm going to take a wide receiver, and it's either between CD and Allen Robinson here. It's always a tough choice for me between those 2. And it kind of depends on where else I've gone in with my team. I feel like Justin Jefferson I mean, we've seen him do it, but like it's not positive that he's going to repeat. So I think that it's better off to take a stable player in Allen Robinson here, to just stabilize the team a little bit. I don't think that there's instability here, but I think that's just going to be a nice, strong foundation. And in this range, there wasn't a lot of running backs taken, which was great. One of the reasons I went wide receiver is to try and keep distancing myself from the other teams by having better wide receivers than, for example, like this team 6, actually late, they went, actually, no, let's take a look at team 2. Ezekiel Elliott, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Calvin Ridley, Kyler Murray, and Kyle Pitts. So they went early at wide receiver and tight end. But I feel like the reason that our team is going to be a little different is because we already have the top tight end, a good wide receiver duo, and a top end running back, a running back one. But there's a lot of wide receivers again. Tyler Lockett is right there. And like I said, a lot of the running backs I was looking at didn't go. So we have Hunt, Robinson, Davis, Edwards, and Harris. So those are all guys I like. There's 4 picks. This is where you have to decide, like, where is the tier break for you, I guess. Do you feel comfortable waiting 4 picks, taking the wide receiver that you like and hoping to get any of those running backs? It's risky, but I'm going to take Lockett and hope that probably James Robinson gets back to me or Gus Edwards. And it worked out perfectly because we had a tight end, a quarterback, a wide receiver, and a running back go. And so we're going to be able to take James Robinson is who I'm going to take as my running back 2. It's honestly between Robinson and Gus Edwards for me. That's tough because, the Ravens are our better running team. But just the fact that we've seen James Robinson be, a top player again before, I think that's a strong choice. And there's a possibility that Gus Edwards gets back to us because he still hasn't gone. We have a few picks to go and he got back to us. What do you know? So this draft is going pretty great, I would say. And, we waited a little bit at running back. You have to know your league. You have to know your league mates to kind of gauge if that's a smart decision to wait or not. But in this case, I think taking those 3 great wide receivers was a good choice. And we can take Gus Edwards, who, if you don't know, J.K. Dobbins was injured and is going to be out for the season. There's a possibility that the Ravens add somebody new. That's one reason to wait for your drafts, but I think that probably Gus Edwards is going to, be the lead guy for the Ravens. And there's still a ton of great players available here. I'm feeling really comfortable with how this draft is going. Taking a look at the quarterbacks, this is where I would start looking at quarterback, maybe Brady, Hurts, Tannehill. So the guys I've been drafting all offseason. Taking a look at the teams in between us, only one of them has not drafted a quarterback. So I'm confident that somebody else will get back to us. Damian Harris is still available. We'll take a look at the wide receivers. Damian Harris got a step up, I think, by Cam vacating those goal line carries. Cortland Sutton is a player that interests me. He looked really good in the final Broncos preseason game. And I'm feeling pretty comfortable with the running backs that I have, but there might be a little bit of question with Edwards and James Robinson. I think just for me, like there's a pretty big fall off between Harris and the other running backs. And I think that we can still get good wide receivers next. I'll probably be taking my quarterback and probably another wide receiver at this 9-10 turn. So I'm going to take Damian Harris. He's a player that I had last year in fantasy. I think he's a talented running back. He doesn't add a lot as a receiving back, but Cam Newton got a lot of goal line carries, took a lot of the work away from just Patriots running backs in general last year. And so I think that there's a chance that he, can have some positive regression especially as far as touchdowns are concerned. Both the teams after me have quarterbacks. A player that I really love in this range is Antonio Brown. I think that Antonio Brown is, I think that he still is a very, very talented wide receiver. And I think that he's just in general one of the best values. And I think that Tom Brady likes him a lot. So I'm going to take Antonio Brown. This team is looking really, really good. I'm quite happy with it. And we'll take, I suppose we should take our quarterback here, just so we don't miss out. Every other team has a quarterback. Let me see if there's any player that I absolutely don't want to miss out on that I think will go in this range. Had I drafted Aaron Jones, for example, I would draft AJ Dillon above, but I don't really have any players graded out too much higher. So I'm going to take the quarterback, and it's going to be Hurts for me. I just think that as opposed to Tannehill in that situation, I would take Hurts because, I mean, Hurts is a runner, and not to say that Tannehill isn't, but I mean, he adds so much on his legs. You can see if you're watching this on YouTube, I mean, there's a ton of tight ends going, quarterbacks going. That's why it's nice to have that differentiator up top with Kelsey, and we just don't even have to think about it for the rest of the draft. And now it's just take shots on guys that you believe in. A few, just to give you some names in this range, wide receivers I like is Curtis Samuel, Michael Pittman, Darnell Mooney, Henry Ruggs. I like a lot of these wide receivers, which is one of the reasons why it's good to wait at wide receiver. Some running backs that could have value down here is Jamal Williams because of DeAndre Swift's injury, possibly Philip Lindsay, might be the starting running back in Texans. So he's a guy that I've taken in some mocks. I haven't taken him in actuality. I'm going to take Curtis Samuel. I think he's a talented player. He was really good last season, and I think he got a step up with Ryan Fitzpatrick being his new quarterback. I'm also going to take Michael Pittman in this range. He's a breakout candidate that I've been warming up on recently, especially now that it's apparent that Carson Wentz is probably going to be the starter in Indianapolis. So we'll draft Pittman. We only have one position player left. I'm hoping that I'll be able to get Lindsay, and then we'll draft our kicker and our defense. I'm definitely of the school that you should wait for kicker and defense till the last 2 rounds. Philip Lindsay came back around us. He'll be our 5th running back. He might add some. He's somebody that if it doesn't work out after the first week, you can drop him for, whoever the hot waiver guy is. But there's definitely a chance that he's the top guy. I like drafting my kicker before my defense because I tend to stream defenses and I don't stream my kicker as much. We'll just pull up the rankings real quick. They don't even have the kicker up on it. So, Younghoe Koo is somebody that's been really good in the past. It's just, who do you like at this point? Honestly, there's not a whole lot of strategy that I put into it. I'll take Tyler Bass just because the Bills have such a strong offense. I'm basically, if I have I'm the commissioner in the league that I tried to convince them to go away from kicker and defenses, and they wouldn't. And I think they're wrong to have. I don't like kickers and defenses anymore. It's one thing that I've decided. I will take the Broncos. Broncos have an amazing defense, and they're playing against the Giants and the Jaguars first 2 weeks. I'm a Broncos fan, so hopefully we can get those wins. Glad that Teddy Bridgewater is the quarterback, even though he's a floor play. But people tend to think that Drew Lock he's got this unknown ceiling, and it's like, no, he doesn't have. His ceiling is mediocrity. Like he doesn't have a ceiling. He's not good. So that's my 2 cents on the Broncos. Ooh, this team is looking good. We've got Jalen Hurts at quarterback. Nick Chubb and James Robinson are our starting running backs. Justin Jefferson, Allen Robinson, the great differentiator, Travis Kelce, Tyler Lockett, Gus Edwards, Tyler Bass, then Broncos, and then on bench. Our bench is real strong. We've got Damian Harris, Antonio Brown, Curtis Samuel, Michael Pittman, and Philip Lindsay. So I really like this team. I think that, Travis Kelce is going to be if you're late in that first round, take Travis Kelce. That's just my opinion on it. I haven't been able to take him yet in any real drafts because I've been further up the draft board or too far down. He's been drafted before I've gotten to him. So I haven't actually had the chance to draft Kelce yet, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to. So thank you for watching. We're getting there as far as, the fantasy season is almost upon us. I'll keep on making videos. I want to do a bust video, and I might go round by round, give you some players I like in every position. But that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.